Thought we'd do a quick... Don't smile. Fucking hell, can't talk today. Time of it, the one of it. Fucking hell. Huh?
Loosen up.
Loosen up. Right, we thought we'd do a quick video update on the Crafter. So lots of people have asked us what's going on with the Crafter, and we did we did a few videos covering what had happened to it, and a few things have changed since, and a few more things are going to change. So I'm going to go through what we've done up until now, a few amendments, and then we're going to go through what the plan is moving forward, which is even bigger for what an idea we'd like to do with this. So as it stands, it looks very similar as it did on the previous video. We just made a few changes. So from the first trip we took out in this, there were a few bits we noticed that we just weren't happy with. Just little tweaks here and there, and I thought I'd share those tweaks with you, just in case you're thinking of planning a Crafter build. You watched our previous video and you decide to go that way, and you're thinking it might help you in changing your direction. It's what we experienced with a few teething problems on the last trip. So the most noticeable thing really from the outside is the wheels and tyres. So if you saw the previous video, you would have seen we had 17-inch Navis Mac ATs on and an all-terrain tyre with a BF Goodrich, and it looked really good. A lot of people commented on it, a lot of people like the look, and I did really like the look, but the truth is it drove terribly for two reasons. That tyre is really noisy. So when you're doing the French toll roads, nice high-speed roads, the noise that come off those BF Goodrich tyres are terrible, and the wet grip on them is really bad. Yes, they're good if you're going off-road and you're stuck in sand, but that never happened. We didn't ever find ourselves in that situation. But as a consequence of having that wheel and tyre package, yes, it looked good. The road noise was really bad, but also the fuel economy was really bad. So I started looking into other options and decided to go for a 20-inch Navis wheel. So these are the Navis GP7s. All the Navis wheels are load rated to 1,050 kilos, so they're perfectly fine for a Crafter. They cover the weight rating in this, even with the extra. So 20-inch Navis GP7, went with that wheel because it's kind of based on the GP steel that VW did, so kind of keeping that OEM plus look. And then I'm a big fan of Uniroyal tyre, so that's the Uniroyal Rain Sport. They call it the rain tyre. We get a lot of rain in England, but this definitely improved the fuel economy. It made a big difference to the road noise, without a doubt. It was so much quieter on our long trip to Lake Garda this year, but improved fuel economy by probably 4 miles to the gallon. So definitely worth doing. Doesn't quite have the same striking look as the 17, but I would say consider going for a 20 over a 17. If you're doing motorways, autobahns, or the French tolls where you're just going for miles, I'd consider a 20-inch wheel with a road tyre. Just make sure it's load rated enough for the weight of your vehicle. So while we're talking about noise from tyres, there's the other road noise. So this thing, and it wasn't really until we got on a motorway that we really realised it, when this got to 55, 60 mile an hour, the roof rack howled like a pack of wolves. It's just down to the design, I think, and just the way it works. The wind's trying to get up there and it's buffeting again on, I don't know what was up there that was causing it, but so we decided to add this simple wind deflector. So it's just a piece of aluminium that we've painted and bolted there, just bought some brackets off Amazon. Bolted that to the front of the roof right there, and it made such a big difference. It just eliminated that horrible howling kind of vibrating noise we were getting off the roof rack. Doesn't necessarily look pretty, don't think it looks offensive. Don't think it would have improved fuel economy as well, possibly, but possibly not. But more than anything, it just removed that horrible droning noise of the roof rack. So previously, I don't know if other people have experienced this, I experienced it in my 6.1 as well, but when you start adding additional electrics to Volkswagen stereos, they seem to create interference. Now our last trip, we were forever having to turn the stereo off and on again. If we were using the CarPlay, even wired or wirelessly, you would get a crackle and interference. You'd have to turn the stereo off, wait 5 seconds, turn it back on, and that could literally happen every minute. So it was quite tedious when you're doing an 8-hour drive journey and you constantly turn the stereo on and off to eliminate this crackling, this kind of static noise. So that's now completely gone, and the sound difference is massive. The Halo 11 with the speaker kit, with the tweeters, makes a huge difference to these vehicles, and just makes the whole driving experience so much more car-like than sounding like you're in a noisy van. So the other thing that's in the cab here, you'll notice if you look down here, is the VB air suspension. We mentioned it in the previous video that this vehicle was going to be overweight. We knew it was going to be over the 3.5 ton mark, so we added the VB air. So this is just a really simple air suspension helper system that goes on the back. Dials here. You can adjust the pressure, but what that then allows you to do is to level the back up so it's not bobbing around, and it can take that all that additional weight you've got from having the camper in the back there. So in the previous video you would have seen we had a Fuel Lagoon screen wrap with a big Transport HQ logo on it, and it looked cool, but I didn't find it very practical. There are different uses for different purposes. I guess it works in some applications, but I prefer the thermal screens, internal screen blinds. I've not installed them for the video, but we'll show you them on our website so you can see what they are. But this is a product we sell, and that's what I decided to use for this trip for a few reasons. One, If it's raining and it's wet, you don't want to be having to take that screen wrap off, fold it all up and get wet. The internal blinds just sucker to the inside of your window. They're easier to put on, you're not kind of battling and trying to throw them over the door. They're easier to put away, but also they're thermal and they're reversible. So if you want to keep the sun out, you have the silver side out, and so on. If you want to try and bring heat in, you have the darker side on the outside to bring the heat in. And they pack away nice and neat. Ours are just stored up the top here, but a really important addition. I thought they were better than the whole screen wrap idea, but I do see why people have the screen wrap, but I think I prefer the internal thermal blinds. So just a few little changes inside that I thought I'd share with you, purely because if you're planning your build, you might find these little tweaks helpful when you come to building your camper. So one thing we noticed previously was these little flexi lights are great, but they'd flop around and move around all the time. So just simply by adding a bit of Velcro to the back of those and there, anywhere there's a flexi light, it just keeps them Velcroed up and out of the way. It seems such a simple idea, and I'm sure people already think of it, but after our first trip we were like, we've got to solve that. These lights kind of move around. As much as this is quite strong, it still does tend to move around as you're bumping up and down, and especially where you've got them over the children's bunks. Another tiny little feature that we thought was worth sharing with you was inside the cupboards. Cupboards are great, loads of storage, but adding something as simple as this is just elastic cord that we bought off Amazon, I think, and some little screw-in eyelets there, just allows you to pack your cupboards right to the top. And we've done that across all the cupboards, whether they're ones that have clothes in, or whether they have cereal in, or your ketchups and all those things in. It just allows you to really maximise the space of the whole cupboard. Another thing we learnt from this just sitting around not being used throughout the winter months was there's a lot of things still running, like the 12-volt fan for the toilet. The cameras were running constantly, which is great because it's security, but the motorhome Wi-Fi was running constantly. So we just added a couple of switches. If you can see up there, it just means that when you're not using it, you can flick those switches off, just so it's drawing no charge at all from the battery. We added 2 switches there. One of the switches is for the camera system. One of the switches is for the Wi-Fi, from the 5G Wi-Fi, and then we also added a switch in the back. I showed you previously the compostable toilet there, which runs with a 12-volt fan constantly to eliminate any smells and odours. Well, that fan was running constantly, and we just put a switch on that in the back there, just so you can turn it off completely, so it's not drawing any power when you're not using the vehicle. So a couple of things we wanted to show you that we decided to do on the outside, well, outside and inside for this one. So this is a Starlink. So as much as this has 5G Wi-Fi, it's a bit temperamental. And when you're parked up on campsites, you tend to find places where there's flat spots, and you're also limited to the amount of data that you can use on most of these tariffs. Gone are the days where you can use your mobile phones roaming abroad and you get unlimited free data. Most of them are starting to charge for them now. So I wanted to look into an alternative, because unfortunately when I'm on holiday I still have to work, and I have to do quite a lot of work, and that might spend the evenings answering emails or uploading YouTube videos or doing some stuff. So this is a brilliant bit of kit. This is the best investment I think I've ever done for that. So this thing, as long as you can get a clear line of sight, as long as you're not in a forest and you're pointing at a tree, this thing will get you up to 200 meg, which is rapid. Far quicker than I would get at home. So much so that this is now used in the home office when it's not here. The beauty of this thing is it's portable, it's mobile, it stows, you can pack it away, you can pop it on the roof, you run the router inside off your 240 plug sockets, and then you have like super high speed internet wherever you go. Now I know a lot of people will say, well, when you're on holiday, it's not about having the internet, it's not about watching Netflix and YouTube and stuff like that. There is occasion when it is. One, when you need to work like I do. 2, when it's that hot outside that you need to sit inside in the cool. Thankfully this thing's got aircon. It's an absolute godsend. I couldn't be without it, but this has an aircon underneath, which was a must when we were in Italy this year, and again in France last year. It's about 85 quid a month I think for the roaming tariff, but that means no matter where I am in Europe, whether it's at home, whether it's away in Italy, France, as long as there's a clear line of sight, you get absolutely spot on high speed internet. Well worth looking at, well worth investing in. Where I live is pretty rural. I live in the middle of nowhere and my internet speed is so bad. I have a home office and it's barely usable. Sky Wi-Fi is shit! So this now, as much as it was designed or bought for the purpose of this, it's plugged in at home and it gets used all the time, so we can work from home as well. Fibre optic broadband! Oh shit! So one more change from the last trip to the previous trip is a good old-fashioned folding bike. So previously you may have seen we spoke about having an electric folding scooter. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Battery always seemed to be flat, seemed to be fairly unreliable. Children just wanted to play on it. When you came to use it to actually wanted to go to the shops, it was really unstable when you had your shopping on it or something. So we decided to go for your good old traditional folding bike, and it was great on this trip. It doesn't take up too much room because it's folding. It actually stores in between the bike rack there at the back, in between the back of the doors, sits there nicely and just tied on. Folds up a lot smaller than this, but far more capable of doing many miles if you're tracking off to the supermarkets in it or wherever you go in. But when you're not using it, it either, you know, stored on the roof, stored on the back, or even stored inside if you need to. But good old-fashioned pedal power over electric scooter any day. This was a little rally one we picked up, a rally stowaway. Great bit of kit. I'm really impressed with it, but it's well worth considering. Moving on from what I was saying about the bike there, it would have been nice to have 2 or maybe even 3. I'd like to add a bike rack. I saw a California out there with one, and it seemed to have 3 bikes in it, I think, but a 3 bike rack to go on the back there, but would still sit above this chest to allow us to put a couple more bikes on there. So the next big thing I'd like to do to this is add a pop top, which means we're gonna have to take that roof rack off and put a pop top in that space that would be there. And there's a few reasons why I'd like to do that. I love the idea of the roof rack and I think it looked really good. I love the idea of having the tent box on the back, but the reality is it just didn't get used. Partly because it's a bit of a faff to put up, it's a bit of a faff to put down, it's a bit ropey standing up there as you're trying to put it down. There's solar panels on there and you kind of negotiate and all that, and whereas a pop top would work. I didn't do a pop top previously because most people that put a pop top in a Crafter put a transporter pop top in, and it's just not really big enough. It's all right for a child or one child or maybe one adult, but there was nothing really that was bespoke to a Crafter until now. So there's a company called ATAC or ATAC, a company that make a pop-top roof for a Crafter, and it looks really good. So I'm going to reach out to those guys, maybe they see this video, I'm going to ask them if they want to get involved in this. But what I would like to do, so their roof fits a medium wheelbase. It's the same roof for a long wheelbase and an extra long, but what that means is the roof comes at the front here, angles the same as the top of the front of the screen, and then it stops where the medium wheelbase would, and then you have a big space on the back. And what I would like to do is reconstruct the cage that's on the top of this, the roof rack that Williams built. Simply Surf Bristol said they'll get involved in this. Those guys said they're going to reconstruct the cage, so what we have is the Crafter pop top. As it stops, then you've got the storage space on the back there, so we can continue to store some bits and utilise the ladder that goes up the side and the space that's on the back there. I think it will look really good, but also be really practical, being able to climb in and out from inside the cab and actually use it as an additional bedroom as opposed to the tent box that just didn't ever get used. So as we do that, we are going to lose the solar panels that's on the top there, but that's not a problem because you can put solar panels on top of the pop top. We have our own solar panels coming that are designed to work perfectly with a Clayton power unit. So that moves me on to the next thing. Internally, you may have seen, and we'll show you a clip from the last video, the electrics that's in the back of this. Space is key, even with a vehicle that's this big, and we do run out of space. Whereas the Victron system is great. It takes up a lot of space, there's a lot of communication going on, it generates a lot of heat. And when things do go wrong, and things did go wrong for us, I'm trying to connect Bluetooth devices to figure out what thing needs resetting or what's not working. So we've decided that we're going to rip out that Victron system, that brilliant Victron system that's very well done, and replace it with a new Clayton power unit. So we're going to put an LPS 3000 in there, and then the additional bolt-on battery packs that are going to be available as of October. That will give me the same amount of storage or more if I want to, because you can continue to add to it. Less storage if I want to, because I've never had this anywhere near like 50% charge, and give us the extra space that we want, but with a simplicity that I can just very quickly look at it and see if something's not working or why it's not working if it's not, as opposed to trying to connect to the complex Victron system. But more than anything, space saving. It's going to take up so much more room in the back there to allow us extra storage in the back. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It was just a quick update because we've been asked lots what's going on with the Crafter. I know the last Crafter video got loads of views and lots of people interacted and were interested in it. We want to try and bring you more Crafter content, hence why we're going to transform this thing a little bit more. If you've enjoyed the video, please do press that like button. It means a lot. It means YouTube shows it to more people. Comment below your thoughts. Comment below anything you think we've got wrong or thinking that we should change, or anything you'd like to see go in this Crafter build. Please do subscribe to the channel. Ring that little bell to get notifications when new videos come out on this Crafter or transporters or ID buzzes, or yes, the Tesla transporter, which we will get back on, or my dream T5 build that's coming up soon. Hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.